Hi there VC, it's Steve Whitty here, and another video today, Research Finds Volume 109 Part 2, or what I got up to on my week off, Part 2. So this is the second batch of records that I purchased in one my week off. Again, I've paid no more than £2, and in this batch I've got some pretty remarkable finds. Basically, Pete, who owns the store, I went, buys collections, and there were certain collections where basically a bit of water damage, and in one case the mice got at it, and which was unfortunate for Pete, but beneficial for me. He said you could have that for £1. Vinyl player's great. So, without further ado, let's carry on. So the first album in the batch, and you'll see which is water damage straight off. This one's a bit of a the mice has got it. This is Bad Company Desolation album. Came out in 1979. The band's fifth album. Singles that came out in the US: Rock and Roll Fantasy, and the track Gone, 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 which was written by Boz Burrell, very popular at the time apparently. What was remarkable that during the time of the band, Boz only wrote 3 songs. As I said, this album was a top 5 in the US. They started falling badly in the UK. They'd seen as a US band, and at this point they'd gone to sign to Pete. They'd been managed by Peter Grant. They'd signed to Swan Song Records. In fact, Chris Blackwell, I did read a story. While he loved 3, he hated Bad Company. He didn't really want them on the label, and he did. When the contract was up, he didn't really put up a fight to let them go. So there you go. There you have it. Now the next album, Beach Boys, Little Deuce Coupe, I think how you pronounce it. Now this came out in 1963. It's the final album of 3 that they released in 1963. So very prolific. None of the tracks I really know, so I've already just brought this as it's just a Beach Boys album. On the Capitol in the UK. Released in Capitol in the UK, so it's got the Capitol label. Yeah. Happy to give that a spin. Probably one first of my possibly. This is the Beatles. Please, 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 please me mono. Now, don't get too excited. Cover is pretty beat. That's why I've got it. It's a third pressing, so no black and gold. It's an ordinary parlophone. So I ain't going to retire yet. Debut album. I've said about it when I did my Beatles ranking. It was recorded in one day. By the time they got to Twist and Shout, John Lennon's voice was pretty shot, but really good snapshot of the live band at that point. Next up, there's a bit of reggae. This is Big Youth, Natty Cultural Dread. Now, Big Youth is a Jamaican DJ. He's still alive. This is his 6th album, released on the Trojan label, and you can pretty much get, obviously big spliff there. There he is in the back, very much celebrating the Rastafarian lifestyle. Real name, Manly Buchanan. Pete said, as I said, he said, I'm going to put this out for £1. I said, well, I'll give it a go. Is it worth pursuing? He said, yeah, I think you might. I think you'll like it. So I'm more than happy to give that a go. Next album. This is the Byrds' Turn. This is the band's 2nd album. Cover was split on this. This is why I got this for a couple of £. And what's even more remarkable, it's an American Columbia. I suppose they call it a 2i, but I'm never too sure, to be quite honest. Obviously, it's the band's 2nd album. Continues with the mix of folk and 12-string jangly guitar. Title track is the best known track, which you're probably all aware that Pete Seger wrote. He was an adaptation from a text from the book of Ecclesiastes. So I'm very pleased to pick up that. Next album is Cars Door to Door. This band's sixth album, released in 1987, and this was the final album that, for a while, it was the final album to feature Benjamin Orr, before he passed away a few years later. This sort of is an attempt for the band to go back to their roots a little bit. Heartbeat City was very much full of gizmos, studio gizmos at the time, and I think David Robinson, the drummer, had gone back from tape loops to actually playing drums a bit more. So, Eric Clapton is Just One Night, released in 1980. This was recorded in the Budokan Tokyo in 1979. It's his third live album, from what I can gather. There's a painting here in there. You can see it's water damaged. You can see that. That painting was done by Ken Kono. That features Albert Lee on guitar, Chris Staten on keyboards. You've got here Lay Down Sally Wonderful Tonight, After Midnight, Cocaine. So, in a way, bit of a snapshot at the time, and very much captured the band. It's well received. The band was playing well at that time. Next album, this is Cream's Wheels of Fire. Now, when it came out originally, it came out as a double album, which was a studio album and a live album. What I've got here is this. It's known as In the Studio. What the company decided to do was to then release it separately. So split the album, so you'd have Wheels of Fire in the studio. And then you also there's a Wheels of Fire live at the Fillmore, so you could get the two albums separately. I suppose it was cheaper for people, rather double album. It was always seen as a considered purchase. Probably best known track on here, you've got White Room, there's Politician, Born Under the Bad Sign. So yeah, happy to have that, and that was only £1. Very water damaged copy of Jethro Tull's Stormwatch. Now this came out in 1979, was the band's 12th studio album. But it was also the last really to feature the classic lineup of the 1970s. Barry Barlow, John Evan and David Palmer left the band at the end of the tour. The bass player John Glasgow, who recorded on 3 of the tracks, he was having health problems and he didn't do the tour, and he sadly died while the band were on tour. Dave Pegg was helping out on bass at that time. So this sort of signifies the end of an era in a way. People think the track Eulogy is about John Glasgow. He did play bass, but in fact, John Evan, who wrote it, it was more about his father had just passed away. They followed it up, Jethro Tull, with A. Now, I've heard this considered to be the worst album they ever made. I don't know. You can see heavily water damaged. Vinyl cleans up fine, no problem there. This fit the band now then comprised of obviously Anderson and Martin Barr, but Dave Pegg became full-time bass player. Mark Carney was on drums, and a special guest Eddie Jobson, keyboards, electric violin. He, at this time, he was formerly of Roxy Music, and obviously had just left UK, so he was helping out on that album. Excuse me, I need to wipe my throat again. This is John Mayall's, and this is Diary of a Band Volume 2. This is basically a live album. Now, Volume 2, that band at that point comprised of Mick Taylor on guitar, Keith Tillman bass, Keith Hartley on drums, and Chris Mercer and Dick Hextall-Smith both on saxophone. This is live recordings around the club dates that they did. He selected high spots from 60 Hours of Blues Breakers Club recording from 1967. This is mono. So I'm looking forward to giving that a listen. I was told this is a very good album, so yeah, worth giving that a go. This is Mark and the Mambas. Now this is untitled. This is the debut album. Now Mark Harmon, after he left Soft Cell, set up Mark and the Mambas. The band itself featured Matt Johnson of the he sort of helped out with the helped out on the recording. Yeah, came out in 1982. It's an album and a 12-inch single. Sort of interested to see what direction Mark Harmon was going. He was very troubled soul. I think the relative failures of Soft Cell at that time and the band split up. I know when one journalist gave a bad review to the Soft Cell album, he went in and attacked them. So, you know, it'd be interesting to hear that very gothy look on the cover. So there may be a bit of goth into that. So, and obviously Mark Harmon sort of developed. I showed you in the previous video. It's like his solo album, Mother's Fist. So, next up, Rolling Stones' Emotional Rescue. The band's 15th studio album in the UK. I believe it's 17th in the US. Hit number 1 on both sides at the Atlantic. It's fair to say that at this point the band, Keith had fully recovered from all the problems. He had drug problems, obviously the Toronto incident, where Some Girls very much was a Mick album. They got back to and started writing together, and it was quite fruitful sessions that came up, because some of the songs that didn't make the album actually ended up on Tattoo You. Obviously, Emotional Rescue was the lead single, pretty much a sort of like disco funk type track, and then She's So Cold was the other single. So sometimes often overlooked, I think, Emotional Rescue. Peel Session that used to come out on Strange Fruit. It was very popular for releasing these just in a plain cover. This is Screaming Blue Messiahs. This is sort of 12-inch singles, just the 4 tracks on there. At this point, they were considered to be Bowie's favourite band. He was a really big fan of them at the time. This is pre their hit single, I Want to Be a Flintstone. So the band sort of split up not too long afterwards, actually. Next, I haven't got much Bob Seger. So this is Bob Seger and the Silver Band, Live Bullet, released in 1976. Recorded at the Cowboy Hall in Detroit. This is where also the same place where Kiss recorded Alive. This album sort of helped launch Bob Seger into as a mainstream artist. You've got his version of Nuts Butch City Limits, Travelling Man, Beautiful Loser, Jodie's Girl, I've Been Working, Turn the Page, UMC, Bo Diddley, Rambling Gambling Man, Heavy Music, Kathmandu, Looking Back, Get Out Denver, Let It Rock. So I'm looking forward to listening to this. Maybe he's an artist I need to explore more, Bob Seger. Then I've got Steve Miller Band's Greatest Hits 1974-1978. This is an absolutely huge album sales-wise. In America, sold 14 million. And it's basically got all these major hits on here. I've got a 69 to 73 greatest hits. This sort of like will complement it. So I'm very pleased to pick that up. Very good condition. This was a £2 record. And then Toya. This is Toya Live. Now this was a live album. Came out of an ATV documentary. ATV was a TV channel based in Birmingham in the 60s to 82. And this was the sort of documentary that followed the band around and focused on a live performance. This was recorded at the Lafayette Club in Wolverhampton. So this is before probably best known track is an 8-minute version of Aia, which was a single that she recorded. Almost there. Rick Wakeman, 1984. Turn the page. Came out in 1981. This was a collaboration. Lyrics were by Tim Rice. This was his first album for the Charisma label, and obviously it's based on the novel 1984. You can see Rick there. He changed his look a little bit. His hair, he cut his hair short. He was coming back. Obviously, he just left Yes. He was coming back. He'd had health problems. I think he had 3 heart attacks. He'd basically blown a fortune, really. So he started his really comeback. Well received. It was a top 30 album for him in the UK. I'd be interested to give that a listen. And then Blues Brothers soundtrack, classic film, classic soundtrack, really. Obviously, you've got Everybody Needs Somebody to Love. You've got Minnie the Mooch, I think. Jailhouse Rock. And there's the band on the back. Some well-known names that featured in the band in the film. So, yeah. And it's obviously a nice price reissue, so I was pleased to have that. And then finally, the biggest find that I got, and this only cost me £1, and it's fair to say the mice got at the packaging. I've got to be careful. It's all a bit. This is the concert from Bangladesh. Boxes in bits. You can see. I've got to really be careful because I don't want the record stuff to fall out. The mice have got at it. Pete wouldn't be able to say you can have it for £1, and I snapped his arm off because the vinyl itself is in great nick. I didn't get to the vinyl, and I didn't get to the booklet either. 64-page booklet. Let me so. Released in 1972 in the UK. I think it came out just before in the US in December 1971. It was a triple live album recorded for the concert for Bangladesh, 1st of August 1971. All-star lineup. Liam Russell played, Clapton played, Bob Dylan, his producers aside, Ravi Shankar opens up the concert. Well received. I think the problem was with the concert for Bangladesh was that while of course some of the money never got to where it should have got to. And I know when Bob Geldof did Live Aid, he sort of referred to the fact that there was problems getting the money to the people that needed it, and that sort of hurts Harrison. That's probably why he never participated in Live Aid. But for £1, all I'm looking for now is a box set that's got rubbish records, but just a perfect box I could house them in. But beggars can't be choosers. I'm more than happy to have that. So VC, I was very fortunate on my week off with what I've purchased. It's a pity the sun's shining actually, because I could have done with it raining, give me an excuse to stay indoors and play these records. But hey ho, that's the way life is. If you stumbled across the channel for the first time and you like what you see, click thumbs up, thumbs down. Sorry, subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Love the interaction. Feel free to comment. I will get back to you. I'm probably will go for a little bit of a walk just to get some vitamin D into me. So VC, until the next time, take care of yourselves. Keep spinning. More importantly, keep smiling.